IVF patients in Alabama tonight devastated, furious, and scrambling as more fertility clinics abruptly stop IVF procedures. Gabby Goydell has spent $20,000 on fertility treatments. 3 miscarriages later, she's hoping to create embryos with her husband Spencer as soon as possible.
I'll take my 6th round of shots tonight.
But her clinic, Alabama Fertility, informed her this morning it was putting all new IVF treatments on hold.
I just broke down into tears. I really was inconsolable. We just started calling every clinic that we could think of. I'm not stopping this cycle. I've already been through too many shots, already invested too much time and energy.
So she's packed her bags, jumping on a plane to Texas tonight, now scheduled to complete her fertility treatment at a different clinic there. While Megan Cole and her husband Walker received word late last night that the embryo transfer scheduled for her surrogate this Friday couldn't move forward.
It was just completely crushing. So
now she says the clinic won't release their 7 frozen embryos for use elsewhere.
We are not allowed to transport them out of Alabama right now. Basically, everything is shut down. So even though these are apparently my children, I don't have access to them.
How much money do you think you spent?
it's close to $250,000.
IVF now accounts for roughly 2% of births in the U.S., but the Alabama Supreme Court's ruling creating legal liability for destroying embryos in the state has left the medical community in limbo.
One of the worst things is how many questions it leaves unanswered.
Leaving clinics with a difficult decision. Tonight, Mobile Infirmary says it has no choice but to pause all IVF, while Fertility Institute of North Alabama says we're still going to perform IVF as we always have. Please do not panic.
Welcome to Yellowhammer Now. It is time for us to talk a little bit about what went on in the last week or so in Alabama politics involving a Supreme Court ruling that put IVF, in vitro fertilization, at risk here in the state of Alabama, except it didn't do any of that. No, it didn't. The Attorney General of the state said, no, we're not going to be enforcing anything that would lead you to believe that IVF was not possible in Alabama. But that did not stop UAB from first saying we're not going to do IVF anymore, and we're going to change some of our procedures for the time being. And two other clinics followed suit and said the exact same thing, which of course led to multiple stories about the pain and suffering of people who are going through the IVF process and the uncertainty that is causing. I'm not doubting that that pain exists. I'm just disputing whether or not it was ever even necessary. Because here in the state of Alabama, we had lawmakers come out very early on, 7:30 a.m. the next morning, the day after this ruling was originally made. And that was Thursday when this conversation with State Senator Sam Gavan took place, where he said, yeah, we're already working on a bill and it should be about 2 weeks. That was affirmed by State Senator Arthur Orr on Friday. Tim Melson talked about how he had a bill. He's a state senator as well. The governor came out, Kay Ivey, and said, hey, we're going to make sure that IVF is allowed here in the United States of America in the state of Alabama. Then you had Donald Trump making the argument that IVF should be allowed in Alabama. And everyone said, well, even Donald Trump's involved. Now Donald Trump has made it so it'll happen. Fine, whatever. Give credit to Donald Trump if you want, even though this has all been going on for days up until that point. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said that he believes there should be exceptions. And he was attacked. And they said, well, you haven't thought this in the past. And I thought, who cares? Isn't he doing what you want? Why are you mad about this? And that is the key to all of this. Why are they mad about something they claim they want handled? Well, the answer is they wanted to have their marches and their speeches and their cable news shows where they get to go and have conversations with themselves about how terrible the state of Alabama is. That is why you get Alabama journalists penning articles about their trials and tribulations with IVF, which is their story to tell. I'm not suggesting they shouldn't tell this story, but telling it under the guise that the process is in threat in Alabama when it is actually not is, how do I put it, dishonest bullshit. That's how I put it. It's such dishonest bullshit that it shows up in a video for Biden-Harris on their Twitter account. Why? Because this is the story the media and their Democrats want. They want to be having a conversation about how the rednecks down in Alabama won't let people get IVF treatment. That's the story they want to tell. It doesn't even have to be true. It was a court ruling. That court ruling threw the cases that are already being handled with IVF into question. And then everyone and their brother came out and said, no, never the intention, not what we want to do, and we're going to make it right. And instead of everyone saying, oh, okay, good, let's make sure we do that, they said, oh, yeah? Well, we don't care what you're saying because it's still bad and Alabama still sucks. It's like, well, all right, that's great, but we're still going to change the rules. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. We got a weekend of TV we got to fill. And then we saw the Sunday show filled up with stupid questions about this. We already knew the answer from the get-go. Why are we pretending we don't understand? And that's exactly what it is. We're pretending we don't understand. But let me explain to you what we do understand. The media in this state, particularly the statewide media that's driven by one entity, that's AL.com, let's just be real about it, they are inherently dishonest. Now, they're just like a national media outlet because they're inherently dishonest. I don't really put this on all the local TV stations and things like that, mostly because they have like 45 seconds to cover each story. They're not getting too in depth. They're doing too much, in my opinion, of letting AL.com take the lead. But again, I'm not expecting much from them. I do expect our long-form coverage to be better, and it sucks. So let's just be real about that, and it needs to be better. Now, you can say, Dale, you're holding up like some sort of unreasonable standard, and that may very well be true. But the fact of the matter is, these people need to do better. They need to tell the whole story. They need to tell the whole truth. At worst in this situation, there are some question marks out there about how this will be handled moving forward. Pauses here and there for this and that, yes. These clinics made this decision. Now, whether that decision was made for political reasons, like I think UAB's was because that's the decision they've made, or maybe they were made because insurance agencies were like, hey, what's going on there in Alabama? Maybe we need to chill out for a little bit. Or maybe it was just made because there's a lot of question marks. The simple fact of the matter is this. Alabama lawmakers have made it clear they want to clear this up, and they're going to shortly. Why are we not happy about that? Why are we pushing back on that? Why are we fighting about that? And the answer is 2024. They want this issue for 2024. They want to be able to say, look at Alabama. Look at what they're doing. Can you believe this? This is going to now happen everywhere. And you've got other governors and whatnot coming out and saying, well, we're going to make sure we don't have this issue as well. And great. Very few people have a problem with IVF. Very few. In vitro fertilization allows people that want to have children to go through different ways in order to get children. Is it a messy process? Sure. Especially if you're a true pro-lifer. I can see your problems there. But that doesn't mean that all the pro-lifers out there want it banned. In fact, it doesn't appear there's enough people to start some sort of banning IVF movement at all, because if you look around, this obviously has not been an issue ever. But now we have it as an issue, and you're pretending that every Republican on the planet has a problem with IVF. Why? Well, because you're full of crap. And the national media is pushing this message, not because they believe it, but because they want to make it appear that Republicans are evil and hate women. And I'm sorry, ladies, you guys got to do better. Okay, if you're being manipulated this easily, maybe women's suffrage was a mistake. Maybe we should roll it back. Because if this is where we're at, that you're believing that, A, abortion is the biggest issue you're ever going to face in this country, and not jobs or the economy or global nuclear war, but abortion. If you're thinking that's the main issue facing our country right now, I'm sorry. I don't trust you to cast a ballot. And by the way, that goes for men who think the same way as well. And I'm only half joking here, because it's terrifying to think that there are people out there that think those are the biggest issues, because they're not even close. Not even close. But you can continue to pretend they are, and politicians will continue to play to you. And the dumber you get, the dumber they'll get. And the dumber they get, the dumber our society gets. But we don't see any of that, do we? No, we think it's about Alabama. They're the ones causing the problems here, not all the other stupid things going on in our society. But you keep that up, go right ahead, and maybe that helps you in 2024. God help us all if it works.